do the sexual satisfaction part and they're single, dating? Because you said you're going to tell us our own version.
Okay, so I just said to you, I said, when you get married, I'm just giving you advance notification. So when you get married, make sure that you satisfy your husband, but don't forget that it's to your own advantage. So he's feeling like, oh my God, she's taking care of me, but he has no idea that really it's to our own benefit. Does that make sense now? Yeah. So if there's anything you want me to talk to you about as a single person now, I will talk to you about what we call sex transmutation. Sex transmutation is the capacity to convert sex energy into creative, useful energy. The summary of that is that if you feel it, don't do it. Take that energy and utilize it to, if you're a writer, the best time to write is when you have high sex drive. Convert that energy. So it's been discovered that some of the best artists, songwriters, and the rest of that in the world, it's been discovered that most of the times, whenever they have high sex drive, that's when they get to paint, that's when they write songs, that's when they just focus on something totally different. Do you understand that? So what that does is that, because sex energy is one of the greatest energies on earth, the productive use of sex energy can actually transform your life. The wasteful use of it is the reason why many don't amount to anything in life. So we say, don't do it because you feel it, but because many have not been taught on how to transmute the energy, not transmit, transmute. When you don't know how to transmute that energy, you want to transmit it through sexual intercourse. What it does is that it weakens you. Because if you can't say no to your sex drive, you begin to find it difficult to say no to other temptations in life. People who say no to their sex drive, check it out. You find out that they also say no to other temptations in life. So you find out people that overcome sex drive, most of them get to overcome drug issues and all the kind of stuff. But once you compromise in the area of sex, you begin to compromise in other aspects of life. So in your single days, you want to make sure that you engage your sex energy in productive use. Okay? And it's something that, and again, when you don't think you can, then you can't. But when you know you can, you can. So many just think that you can't do without sex. That's not true. I didn't have sex until I got married. I didn't have sex until I got married. And I've not had a reason, I've not had a reason to have sex outside of marriage. And I travel extensively. I travel to so many countries in the absence of my wife. And I see all kinds of women. But you know what? Because I said no, even to her, when she wanted to hug me. I tell you why. That very day, I traveled into her city. And I came to the church where she was present. And I bought her a gift. So I gave her the gift. And she had seen other sisters in the church who saw me. And they were all coming to hug me. And then she came to meet me privately in her pastor's office. And she said, I want to ask you for something. I said, what is it? She said, I think you're going to tell me no. I said, no, go ahead and ask the question. The answer will be either yes, no, or wait. And then she came, she said, can I hug you? Now, don't forget I have hugged several persons, but I'm aware of where she comes from. She comes from a family where all the ladies in her family, they had some challenges outside of marriage. And somebody had already put a spell, released a spell against her that she will end up like that. And don't forget this. I also come from a family where all the men in my family, from my bloodline, 4 generations past, every man has a child out of wedlock. When you know where you're coming from, don't repeat the behavior that sponsors it.
I have a question.
Okay.
You said in the marriage, like number 7 was the most of like respect. So what if that respect had been broken within either the husband or the wife? So what is the what would you give that wife or husband? Like what, I don't really know how to say it. Like what would you have them, the advice for them? Like if that respect had been broken on either side.
The beautiful thing about respect is that it can be earned. You can get it back. All you have to do is to walk against what you did to make you lose respect. For instance, if you don't keep your promise, if you make a promise to your wife and you don't keep it, and as a result of which you eventually lost your respect, the only way to regain your respect is to make sure now you become consistent with your words and your promises. Keeping your promises, and it's going to take a while. Don't rush the person, because you broke it. It's going to take a while to get it back, and it will require consistency. All right, I'm going to be teaching along this area tomorrow. But basically, all you have to do is to make sure you work on the double to earn it back. That's just the best thing to do. Does that make sense? Thank you, ma'am. All right.
I love your talk. I think you're amazing. Thank you guys for being here. About a couple weeks ago, the Lord had me read Derek Prince's book about marriage, and you touch on these things, but you actually go down a little bit deeper and give more tips and stuff like that.
Thank you.
And one thing I noticed during this period was that I felt like he was calling me to create a separate journal to do the prayer points for my future husband, and to also like journal some of the weird experiences I'm having, because they're like, I feel prophetically, they're like impressions of the way my capacity, as you say, is expanding. And I'm kind of curious, like, prophetically, like, what other sort of, like, tips you would give someone who is single and prophetic to kind of cultivate this interesting situation? Because it's kind of almost like wilderness, and you get impressions of him, but it's also very strange.
Okay. I do train people who are in the prophetic, and one of the things that I always say to those who are in the prophetic is that those who are in the prophetic sometimes are the most difficult to relate with. And so I always say, please, marriage, if God gives you a prophetic word for your marriage, a prophetic vision, please, the moment the person comes, you can't be prophetic, you have to be practical. I've seen people in the prophetic make a big mess of their, just check around us. You see people who are in the prophetic, the marriages are just messed up because they're trying to be prophetic where they need to be pragmatic. You understand that? So for you, I know it's one thing for the Lord to give you a vision. The Lord gives you an impression about who the person is, okay? Once the Lord is giving you that impression that there's someone coming or there's someone around you, you now need to come down, because the person is not in the realm of the spirit. The person is here. Yeah? So he might just be a brother in the church here, or he might just be the brother to a sister in the church. But if you don't relate well with that sister, you're not going to meet her brother. And if all the time you are always in the realm of the spirit and you can't relate with us, then we won't open the door for you to meet our brother. So once you get into the realm of the spirit and you get to know that, oh, there's this guy that God wants me to marry and all of that, well, that's in the realm of the spirit. You now need to walk on the streets of Jerusalem to find him. Because I've seen too many people who are in the prophetic still waiting for who they've already passed. You get what I'm saying now? You're waiting for prophetically. Don't forget that it happened to the Jewish people. They were waiting for the Messiah. He's coming. My Messiah is coming. He came, grew up right before them. They captured him and killed him, and they were still waiting. That's the problem sometimes with being prophetic. And so you find people who are less prophetic, but very practical. You find a situation where less prophetic, intuitive, but very practical, you find them getting married. And then you find across the world that most of the ladies who claim to be prophetic are the ones who are not married. And it's because they are not properly taught. They are not properly mentored. They can see angels, they can see the move of God to come, but they can't see the man around them. You understand? So you are such a beautiful lady, and I love the fact that this is the first time I will see someone in the prophetic conceptualize and articulate and properly express questions that really solves problems like this. So it shows me how much intelligence is at work in you, and you're beautiful, and I would like to market you to some of my guys, I love it. So you need to do a good photo, and because sometimes again you get to the pages of ladies who are, look at that, you get to the pages of ladies who are prophetic, and all you're just seeing is thus saith the Lord, thus saith. Show us how beautiful you are. Look at that now. You understand that? So what I'll just say is that please, I'm going to be sharing with you tomorrow how to increase your attraction power. Yeah, I mentioned it some times ago here, but tomorrow I'm going to drive that very deeply. I'm going to show you 2 things you need to do to increase your attraction power as a single and as a married person. How do you get to? They are all increasable variables. They are not things you leave in the hand of God. Because I've seen singles who are like, God, make men like me. No, I said no. If men are going to like you, there are things you have to do. Look at how you dress. Beautiful. Yeah? God isn't going to put a leather boot on the jeans for you. God's not going to do that. Yeah? God is not going to combine the colors. Look at how well you combine colors. And sometimes you meet some ladies who are spiritual, and sometimes you're like, wait a minute, are you trying to resemble the tabernacle or something? Because sometimes you're like, what in the world is going on here? Your shoe looks like the outer court, your trouser is like the inner court. This everything just, I'm telling you, you understand? Okay? It's confusing. So, but I mean, you are so different. You're so different. So, I hope that helps. You've seen it in the spirit realm. It means it is here. And most times, relating well with the people around you actually opens the door to the person God is sending you to. Rebecca never knew that the men she met at the well were the ones who will actually connect her to the man. Does that make sense? And that is where we miss it. Because as I get to the well, and I'm like, well, this guy is here. And then, one of them then says to you, please, ma'am, can you give me some water to drink? Who, me? That kind of stuff. But she was like, no problem. Don't forget, she has to lower her pitcher into the well. And the wells in those days were very deep. She has to pull that stuff, pull it up. And she gave the water to him. Watch this carefully. And then she also gave water to all the men who came with him. Discretion. Humility. But beyond that, this is where it gets trickier. She also realized that they came with camels. I'd like you to Google what it takes for a camel. One camel takes gallons. And they were standing by watching her fetch water from the well with pitcher after pitcher. And she gives to this single camel, and he just keeps gulping in. Man, keep giving it to me. And they watched her, watch this carefully, not to see how beautiful she is, but to see if she has capacity to manage what is coming. So it was a test of capacity. The moment they saw how she responded, they saw how she was able to meet the demand, how she was able to respond to the need. He said, this indeed is the woman that we see can help steward and midwife the vision that God has passed on to Isaac. She is the one. It was not about her beauty, it was about capacity. Beauty attracted them, capacity settled them. So the lesson you've learned from that is that sometimes you might not meet the man, but meet someone who knows the man. And be careful how you treat the one who knows the man, because you may never meet the man if you treat that one wrongly. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Reverend Sam. Earlier you said that a wise man should look for a woman that has what he is missing or what he is lacking. Do you have any resources to kind of determine what my structural deficit is and be able to communicate that to?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that it's very difficult for us to have a generic conclusion about what every man lacks in his own structure. You have to do an audit of yourself. You have to know yourself. I think one of the things that the Greek philosophers will always tell you is know thyself. And Paul the Apostle went further to say, examine yourself. So one of the things that every man who is single must do is to be able to have a strong command of knowing what your strength is and what your weakness is, such that when your lady, your wife is coming, you're able to tell her, this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm not good at. Do you think you have anything to supply in this aspect where I'm not good? I hope we are all not equally bad in this area, because that would be very dangerous for all of us to be equally bad in the same area. Then there is no marriage, because marriage should cancel out weakness. That's why we're talking about becoming power couples. So it is incumbent upon every one of us here to ensure that the ladies are able to assess and know, what am I strong at? What do I bring to the table? If a man shows up tomorrow, how am I going to know that he's the one based on my assessment of who he is and what I've been prepared for? You understand that? Imagine for someone like Rebecca, who has the capacity to fetch water from the well, and now she's meeting where there is a need to supply water to. That's what she's prepared for. Nobody's asking her to go into farming, because what she's prepared for, which is what she does on a regular basis, is to come to the well and fetch water. That's what she's been prepared for. And it was on that ground she was tested. Does that make sense, sir? Very good. So I'll recommend that you take some time out, know yourself, because the greatest gift you can give to a woman is the gift of self-knowledge. Are you able to tell them, you don't need to be confused, this is who I am. John the Baptist said, I am a voice of one it's in the wilderness, saying, he said, I am not the Christ, I am the voice. How wonderful will it be for a woman to come into your life and you're simply telling her, I am not this, this is who I am. You've simplified the journey for the woman. Thank you so much.